Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sander Lanch podcast. Today, we are discussing chapters 38, 39, 40, and 41 of The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. In these chapters, Kaladin spends a chapter dealing with the horrible injuries he suffered. Just one chapter, though. Shallan spends a chapter dealing with the horrible injuries that she's done to her conscience. And then we get some Kaladin Bridgeman and some Kaladin Youngman. Both of them get a little bloody. I don't know. So I'm Data, and with me today is
Jack,
Joe,
and Jamie.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sander Lanch is about to begin. So yeah, 4 more chapters, although in a weird way, I feel like the most eventful one may have been the flashback. I don't know. What did you guys think of these 4 chapters?
Yeah, the flashback one, I think, was where the most happened. That was quite brutal, seeing what happened to... I mean, we saw that boy exactly once, and we didn't really like him.
Yeah.
So, can't say I really... was sorry to see him go, but I'm just like, oh, this is just going to make the situation with Roshone even worse. Yeah, it was just a whole thing. It was a bit draining to read it. It's like, oh god. But the rest of it, I'm just like, oh, I don't know how Kaladin's going. It's like he's done this ordeal, which is like elevated into legendary status among the rest of the bridge crew, but he's feeling, and it's like, I can't do any better. I'm like, shit, okay, how are we going to get out of this one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a bit of a depressing set of chapters this time around, really.
Just things can't go well for Kaladin regardless of what time in his life it is.
Yeah, every time we think, all right, now we're going to come good a bit, and no, we don't.
Yeah, like you said, you'd think that, like, I've just recovered from these horrible injuries and survived a thing I wasn't supposed to survive. This would be a good thing. But he's like, oh, man, there's nothing we can do to live through this. This is horrible.
Yeah.
Although we did get a little hint. Teft, as we saw before, Teft seems to know something about something.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about that yet.
Mm.
Not enough information. Check back later.
Try again later.
Yeah, I actually liked these chapters, except for the last one. I thought I hated the last chapter. Again, The flashbacks, I don't know what it is about this book. Every time there's a flashback, even if important things are happening, I'm like, I cannot find it within me to care about it. So the first one, first chapter is interesting because we've got this kind of mysterious stuff going on with Teft. He knows something, right? And he uses a word I don't think that we've heard before to describe a group of people. So Teft's background is definitely more complex than we've previously, I think, thought. And so there's something. I feel like there's something big on the horizon for Kaladin, even if he's down right now, based on the third chapter that we read. I think because of what's going on with Teft and what's possibly going to come to light about Kaladin and his abilities, that maybe we're on track to a brighter future, even if it looks grim right now. And then the Shallan thing, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I almost felt like this chapter spinning its wheels a little bit because she stole the Fabrial, and now it's like, so now she's just literally waiting around, which is fine. I understand how it makes sense for her plan, but I feel like I don't know that we necessarily needed this chapter, right? Like it could have, we could have just skipped ahead to something happening, because I really, other than her talking to her brother and her internal dialogue or monologue, it's like there's not a whole lot going on except that she's in turmoil, which we already like mentally, emotionally, like which we already knew. So while I did like the chapter, I feel like it wasn't super necessary. And then the flashback, like, okay, cool, things are gonna get potentially worse for them because what's his face kid died, and the doctor couldn't save him. He's gonna be mad about that. Like I get it, but yeah, it's just like it just takes me. These flashbacks just take me completely out of it. I just could not. I was a little disappointed that was the last thing we read this week. So it's like, ugh. But yeah, I mean, good stuff. I'm excited. We're a little over halfway through the book at this point, so I think things are finally starting to like kind of happen. Hopefully, so we're I think on the cusp of like some momentum in the story. So I'm excited for that to get going.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to think. If I remember correctly, and I don't know if you'll find it encouraging or not, but I don't think there are any dedicated flashback chapters in parts 4 or 5 of this book.
Yeah, which I mean, maybe by that point we've told all there is to tell about Kaladin's past that we need to know in this moment. So that would make sense, maybe. But yeah, I don't know what it is about these flashbacks. It's just like I have a really hard time like caring about this past stuff in this very moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe, and maybe this is just my preference. Maybe people love it when it's kind of spaced in to the book the way it is, so that you get this kind of background on Kaladin as we go. Like maybe people really enjoy that style. For me, I would rather have like a separate book or a separate like little short story thing where you read Kaladin's backstory. Like I would rather that than it interspersed into what we're trying to like into the story we're trying to read. So, but that's just just my preference.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough.
I like these chapters, and I did enjoy the flashback. I do, like, even knowing now that parts 4 and 5 there's possibly no flashback, tells me we're getting pretty close to finding out whatever we need to find out there, and it feels like we're getting closer to that. So I am looking forward to that part of the story and figuring out why or how Kaladin got where he got, considering that in the last flashback he just decided he was going to go to Kharbranth and become a surgeon. So and he never says that he became a surgeon, he apprenticed as a surgeon. So I think we're getting close to that, which was good. In Shallan's chapter, I'm really interested with what she draws when she's not paying attention to what she's drawing, because she's coming up with things that she didn't see or doesn't remember seeing. She's got the photographic memory, and now she just draws things, and it's weird. I was half expecting that, because she said she hadn't heard from Nanbalat, that was like his death that she was drawing. And I don't know whether she's drawing things that have happened or is drawing things that are to come, or I don't know, but I'm really interested in figuring more about that. I think she's sort of going down the path I was expecting, that she's got to wait it out a little bit. You can't just disappear, but it's interesting that she's been there 3 days. Like the tension must just be like insane. You have to feel like any moment you might be discovered. That's terrifying. But I'm keen to know where her story is going to go. I am extremely curious about Teft's background. I really want to know. I can't wait till we get to the point where he and Kaladin actually get to sit down and talk about it, because I feel like Kaladin is owed a bit of an explanation. I want to know what the hell's up with Syl. What does Rock that ties in, and what does Teft know? And also, how is he going to go and recharge all these spheres? Because he's got all these dumb spheres now that he needs to go and then recharge and just give. I mean, it's clever. Don't just heal him in one go. But Kaladin's got no clue what's going on, which also must be pretty rare, because you'd think in his medical background he would know what was going on if he knew about it. So
right.
Yeah, I like them. I think there's a lot of little nuggets, and we must be getting to the part of the story where things are starting to move, and all of our characters are kind of at this, okay, what's next sort of phase. So it's good. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you about Teft. It's like, Teft, you know something. Tell us. What do you?
Still already.
And yeah, I mean, I guess you got to find some way to recharge your spheres, unless he's just going and trading them with people for charged up ones. I don't know. But I'm glad somebody's enjoying the flashbacks. I like the flashbacks personally as a story technique here, and the way that they build on each other towards what we assume is going to be, something important here. And I don't want to give a misunderstanding. I didn't say there are no flashbacks after part 3. I don't think there's any more dedicated flashback chapters. Like I think
Chapters. Okay.
yeah, I think that there are more flashbacks, but they'll be like a piece of a bigger chapter, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. It's been a while.
We'll see when we get there. That's okay though. If there's not a huge amount of story to tell in that flashback, we've got to be getting close, right?
You would
And now,
hope. Yeah.
extra special, like Liren is extra special pissed off the guy who doesn't want him around. So
Yeah.
something
I mean,
going.
I would prefer it if it was just like bits of a chapter as opposed to whole chapters that are just dedicated to a flashback. 'Cause I feel like that's what's taking me out of it, right? It's like if it's a flashback and then you go back to the current action, like I feel like that to me I enjoy more than like a fully devoted flashback chapter that's just like, okay, here's a flashback.
Like relevant to the moment rather than here's a bit of the backstory.
Yeah, like, if something in the current events sparks a memory or a thought, and then we go to that in that moment, to me, that is a more seamless way of doing flashbacks when storytelling. Whereas, like, this is like, hey, remember how you're reading about what was currently going on? Here, with no preamble from the actual characters in the story, is flashback. Like, that to me is weird, but it's just my personal preference.
I do like the way Jamie phrased it. He's now extra special pissed off, the guy that doesn't like. It's so true. Like, not only his son is dead, but I believe it says in here that like he is going to lose his leg also, which he's probably not going to be happy about.
I suppose chasing him will be harder.
So yeah, okay. No, that's sorry, I was just I was going back and reading that section to see, am I crazy? Did it say that? I think it did.
Someone was going to lose a leg. I just can't remember which one of them it was. We'll go back and amputate that later.
Well, like if the boy's already dead, they're probably not going to take the leg off him posthumously.
Oh no, yeah, you can't leave that on.
I think I do think it was actually the son. It was before they had decided he was beyond saving that they were like, that they had already tied a tourniquet and that they were working on him. And then when he got into the chest, he realized or the abdomen, he realized like, okay, it's not gonna work out.
Yeah, you may be right. Because it said that they would amputate the leg later. I think that is talking about the kid. Okay, so maybe not. It's all good. Let's get into these chapters. Let's do the thing. We start with chapter 38, Invisager, which is that word that someone mentioned that Teft uses to describe a group that we have not heard of up to this point, as far as we know. It's a interesting word, Invisager. What is? Oh, apparently it's a French word that means to consider.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what to do with this information.
Yeah, no, it's not particularly helpful, and maybe it'll all make sense later. The epigraph here is, born from darkness, they bear its taint still, marked upon their bodies, much as the fire marks their souls. And the note is, it's from, this is a trustworthy source, but I'm not certain about this translation. Find the original quote in the 14th book of Seld and retranslate it myself, perhaps? All right. You go, whoever you are. You translate.
I'm still fairly certain this is Yasna's notes.
It kind of feels Yasna-ish to me. It feels scholarly at the very least, which is she's I think the main 100%. Scholarly character that we know.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a weird chapter because it's mostly from Kaladin's point of view as he's going through. He's like drifting in and out of consciousness and potentially seeing things that are not there because of his horrible injuries.
Near-death experience.
Yeah. And he just keeps like the lessons that his father drilled into him when he was young. And Jamie mentioned, he says in a later chapter that he apprenticed as a surgeon, not that he completed it, which I guess confirms for us that he never like finished his whatever he was doing with his dad. Probably never went off to school unless he quit partway through school, I guess. And so he's elucidating the symptoms that he's experiencing as he like drifts in and out and remembering the correct treatments. Although he can't tell anyone the correct treatments, such as keep subject hydrated, wrap chest to prevent subject from taking part in strenuous activity. I don't think he's going to be doing any strenuous activity. Let's be fair. At one point, he opens his eyes and sees all the people laying down covered in blankets, and he thinks that corpses. This is a warehouse where corpses are lined up for sale. But who bought corpses? High Prince Sadeas. He bought corpses. They still walked after he bought them, but they were corpses. Which that's a way to look at it. Yeah, okay.
Bleak.
Very, very bleak. He'd failed Tien. He'd failed Goshel, his parents. He'd failed Dalit. Hey, we met Dalit in the first chapter.
It took me a minute. I'm just like, who the hell is Dalit? And then I had to skip back.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It has been a good long while,
And also, like, I thought, oh, is Goshel also in that? No. I don't know if I've heard Goshel before.
No, we don't know Goshel. And so as he's as he's going through all this stuff in his head, he's also contemplating what Lamrel said at the end. Like, Bridgemen aren't supposed to survive. But why? Why would that be? Let's see. He's got some strained tendons, ripped muscles, cracked bones, maybe internal hemorrhaging, all the good stuff. And he sees the Death Spren, fist-sized and black with many legs and deep red eyes that glowed.
So, this could be me reaching, but this description really made me think of what Kelsier saw when he looked at Ruin in the well.
Oh, yeah. Like the creepy spider with the glowy red eye. Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah, so like, I don't know if there's a connection there. It could be a coinky dink, but that's where my mind went.
I can see that. So only the dying.
So that moment
can
that
see
you mentioned it, I'd completely forgotten about that. I did not remember that was a thing.
Well, I mean, speaking of things that were a long time ago.
Right? Yeah, seriously. We've come a long way since Secret History.
But to be honest, I still don't quite remember that. I'm going to have to go and figure that out.
Of course, when he saw it, like, it was like a giant, like, bigger than he could even imagine sort of creature, like a Cthulhu giant black spider monster. But
yeah, but I mean, this could be like all the shard powers came from the same place. If we assume the Spren are an offshoot of like a shard's power, then it could be like, oh, someone's just got a little bit of Ruin left in them, and that's what this is. Because I mean, Ruin and death, they go hand in hand.
That makes sense to me, anyway. Yeah. And then there's a tiny figure made of pure white light standing between him and the Death Spren. Not childlike at all, she stood guard on his chest, holding a sword made of light. And it kept them at bay, but there were a lot of Death Spren, more and more each time he was lucid enough to look. I like that his last little thing is severe delusions caused by trauma to the head. Do not allow alcohol intake. Administer fathom bark to reduce cranial swelling. Fire moss can be used in extreme cases, but beware letting subject form an addiction. If medication fails, trepanning the skull may be needed to relieve pressure, usually fatal.
Jesus.
Yeah, no one wants trepanning the skull. Let's be clear on this. In case anyone's not familiar with this term, that involves drilling holes in your head. It's not fun.
Yeah, and obviously they don't know how to do it safely if they're like usually fatal.
It's like, how far do I drill? I don't know. Keep going till you hit something squishy. All right.
If you hit something squishy, you should have stopped already.
Yeah. But then we cut to Teft, who is he's slipping in to see Kaladin, who they're keeping back in the back of the barracks, all bundled up, and making sure that he's never alone because they're worried about what might happen. Gaz came to see him, but Gaz just figures that he's going to die. Like, men didn't live long with wounds like those. But people are talking about this. Just like you guys assumed that they would be. They're like, you were like, somebody survives the thing that everyone knows they weren't supposed to survive. It's going to cause some chatter. And Teft is like, man, Sadeas is not going to like that he lived. So maybe one of the other Light Eyes might decide to relieve their Bright Lord of the problem by quietly taking Kaladin out. So they have to make sure that he's never alone. And Scar is watching over him right now and says that Kaladin is seeing something that he can't see. And so everyone knows that Death Spren, you can only see them when you're dying. And they're like, oh, this is bad. And so when he's alone with Kaladin, Teft's like, why now? Why here? After so many have watched and waited, you come here? But he thinks, oh, I don't really know that this is... Also, a really good line that I like. You took a bunch of hanged men and lifted them up just enough to breathe. Now you're going to leave them? I won't have it, you hear?
That was a good line.
Yeah, it's a very poignant metaphor, I feel like. And so he puts these spheres in Kaladin's hand, and he watches. All the Envisagers had were stories and legends. Fool's tales, Teft had called them, idle dreams. And so he just watches and he's like, of course nothing's going to happen. What are you, an idiot, Teft? Those spheres would buy a few drinks. Take those back. And then suddenly Kaladin draws in a breath and the light from the spheres fades away and his eyes snap open and some of the cuts actually like heal themselves in front of Teft. So this is a pretty clear indication that what you guys have theorized this for a lot of this time, that Kaladin is somehow like feeding off the stormlight in these spheres. This seems to confirm that. And the light seems to get used up. Kaladin goes back to like unconsciousness, and he's still not doing well, but he's doing a little better. And Teft says, Almighty cast from heaven to dwell in our hearts. It is true. Why now? Why here? And why me? So he's going to go trade these spheres for spheres with some light in them and let Kaladin drain those too, but not too fast. Can't have him heal too quickly or that'll draw too much attention. And I need to tell the Invisagers, except the Invisagers were gone, dead because of what he had done. And if there were others, he had no idea how to locate them. So he's not going to say anything until he can figure something out. And that's the end of that chapter.
I did not expect Teft to become as important as he apparently is going to be.
Right? Yeah, he's got some information at the very least that he's going to need to impart to us.
Yeah, with a name like Teft, I guess you never know what you're going to get.
Honestly, like the thought I had going through this when I read this bit is like, man, we never expected like this is like expecting Teft to be so tied into the mysteries on this planet. It's like that's like expecting Ron to all of a sudden have like, I know Voldemort, I know his life story.
I'm his brother. What?
Yeah, Ron turns to Harry and be like, hey, you know who is like trying to kill you? Well, I've got to tell you, I know all about him. He's like, what? We've been friends for like 6 years. Why haven't you told me before this? Well, didn't make sense for plot reasons, so I just kind of left you hanging, mate.
You never asked.
But Ron, you're 17. Voldemort's like 70.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's just that my mum told me, so I figured might be important.
Ron got held back a lot, and we just didn't know.
Yeah, that's why I'm so tall,
Okay, so after that Harry Potter moment, Joe's available for parties to play Ron, obviously.
Sure.
I don't know what kind of party that would
I'm not redheaded. Yeah, exactly. I'm not redheaded or tall, so those are issues. But other than that, I'm ready.
They'll throw on a wig. It's fine. Some stilts.
So put on some lifts.
Yeah.
Man. The second chapter is called Burned Into Her, which that's fun. And the epigraph says, within a heartbeat, Alezarv was there, crossing a distance that would have taken more than 4 months to travel by foot. And the note says that these old stories and folktales are full of instantaneous travel, and the oath gates pervade them. So there's something, and now for something completely different. And we are with Shallan, who is, she's having some problems with the stuff that has happened recently. She's sitting not in a closet, in her closet-like chamber, and just with a single ruby brome cast for light. So she's in like red light. She's drawing over and over the things that she saw in the alley, trying to get them out of her head. And so she's got like the guy turning into fire. She's got that moment where like he's still shaped like a man, but he's fire. And Yasna is like got her hand out. And she's apparently drawn like dozens of these things. The guy turning into fire, the other guy has a crystal. One of the guys turning into smoke, she didn't actually see until like just like his clothes had already fallen to the ground and he was gone. And she feels bad that she couldn't record his death, and then feels stupid for feeling bad about that. But and we find out a little bit. She's been as ordered studying the different philosophies that they have on Roshar. And we find out a little bit about that. We've got the philosophy of starkness. It says kill or be killed. So that says that what Yasna did is fine. She killed. She did not be killed. The philosophy of purpose says actions are not evil. Intent is evil. And Yasna's intent was to stop them from hurting people. So that philosophy says she's good. The philosophy of ideals says that removing evil is ultimately moral. And so that one also says Yasna is good. And then you have the philosophy where the ends justify the means, called the philosophy of aspiration. And that one also says what Yasna did was right. So she's dealing with a lot of her studies saying that actually Yasna was right But in addition to that, that Shallan was wrong in what she did, because as she uses all of these philosophies to examine her theft of the Soulcaster from this woman who trusted her, she finds that they all say that she's evil or bad. I don't know if good or evil is exactly, but I don't know. Do you guys have any opinions on these various philosophies?
Having only heard them from her perspective, and not actually having read them ourselves, because while these philosophies may be similar to Earth philosophies, they're probably not identical. I would say that you could look at it from different perspectives. As we've said, from my perspective, the Jedi are evil. You could look at it from different perspectives and make arguments on both sides of why what she did was right or wrong. Shallan does not appear to be doing that. And so I would argue that her reasoning is not complete. But that's also up to a person's interpretation of what is good, what is evil. There's so many caveats that are not being explored in this aspect that I would say that while her reasoning is not unnatural, I guess it's not unthinkable for her to think this way, it also is a little bit flawed. That's my opinion.
Yeah, so she's making these decisions on these prophecies and seeing the worst because she is conflicted. She feels like she has done the wrong thing anyway, so it's easier to go towards the side of, well, I am bad, I am evil, I didn't do this. Like, it just depends on which moment you're looking at that. I thought it was good when she specified that in the moment she stole it because she was angry, not because her family needed her. But yeah, she's not getting a full picture here. She's not the objective outsider. If someone else was to use the same philosophies to look at her actions and why she did what she did, I wonder if they would come up with the same thing.
Yeah, y'all make a good point there that it may be a lot of her own guilt feeding into how she's interpreting them and not strictly about the philosophies themselves. That's a good point. What I find kind of interesting is that she says that there's the one philosophy, the philosophy of aspiration, the ends justify the means one. She's like, that one actually kind of makes me okay because I'm doing this to in the end save my family. But also that's the one that I really hate because I think it's terrible. So she's not feeling great about herself in these studies.
She's had a trying few days.
Yeah. And then as she's distracted thinking about all this, she realizes that she's drawing not one of those alleyway scenes, but a lavish room with a thick ornamented rug, swords on the walls, a long dining table, and a dead man in fine clothing lying face first on the floor, blood pooling around him. So, yeah, all right. That's a thing. She's like, what is wrong with me and my drawings? I got to go.
Yeah, I know we talked about this, or we touched on it, what this drawing could mean. Maybe I'm wrong, but like for some reason in my brain, I associated her drawing this as like when her father died, that's how they found him dead. But
could be.
Did he die suddenly, or
I don't think we know. We just know that he's dead.
Right.
And and she seemed to associate it with like the scene of Non-Balat being injured and blood and some other stuff. But we don't know much.
Yeah, my other thought was, if it wasn't that, was that it could be because I think I predicted that the king Tarvadian or whatever is Taravangian, yeah. Taravangian, that she drew that weird picture because she saw like these weird creatures behind him, and I theorized that maybe those creatures are like they come to you before you die and like record stuff about you, which is what we saw in like the epigraphs in part the first part.
Yeah.
And so maybe that is his death, Taravangian's death, that she's again like having a premonition of.
Oh, she's drawing the future?
Yeah. Well, maybe
Isaac from Heroes over here.
He might be actually dead in this moment and she's just seeing it somehow. We don't know, but
sometimes I whittles the future.
I love that. It's like Wiggum getting attacked by a bear, and then later in the background, Wiggum's getting attacked by a bear. It's perfect.
Yeah. Whittles what I sees.
What does he say? I don't see, or I don't remember so well because of that. There, what is it? Is it just incompetence? I don't remember what he says.
Hold on. I don't have such a good memory since I drank my thermometer. But I whittles what I sees.
Yeah. Mercury
There's
poisoning.
the Pillsbury Dome boy in a bear trap. Yeah, okay. Sorry, that's the Simpsons moment for knowing us, maybe one of many Simpsons moments, but we'll move on from there.
Yeah, that had a guest star. Who played Bart's girlfriend in that?
Oh, hold on. What else?
Sorry. Keep going down the rabbit hole, but
is the Wandering Juvie, and guest star as this girl, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
There you go. His girlfriend was Buffy.
I did not remember that there were that. I mean, I knew that there was the girl. I didn't remember that she was somebody.
Yeah, that makes
I mean,
sense.
The Simpsons,
that was still
the Simpsons at that point was like everybody was somebody.
Yeah, and like that would, if it was season 15, that would have been like 2004.
Yep.
So Buffy was pretty popular then.
Buffy's still pretty popular. Let's be clear.
Well, yeah, but I meant it was on TV with new episodes.
Was it still on TV in 2004? I don't even remember when that show aired because I didn't see it until it came out on Netflix.
97, and it had 7 seasons. So yeah.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, not the movie, the series, to 2003 is when it stopped.
Oh, so it would have been just over.
Just after that, yeah.
Yeah.
She needed some work, so she went on The Simpsons.
I'm sure she was invited on.
Although if that episode came out in 2004, they probably
voiced it in 2003.
Did the work on it like 6 months earlier. Yeah. So yes, she tries to Shallan. Back to Shallan. She's trying to get away, and her span read is flashing, and it's her brother, who she tried to contact, but he was off attending a party or something.
You know how he does. Oh man, wait a minute! Celebrity casting for Shallan. If it was in 2003, could it have been Sarah Michelle Gellar? That's a good question. Probably
redheaded Sarah Michelle Gellar, maybe. Yeah.
Nah, let's just throw Allison Hannigan in there. Might as well.
Allison Hannigan has that more like innocent feel to her than Sarah Michelle Gellar.
I guess that's true. Is Shallan innocent though? That's the question.
I feel like that's the feel you're supposed to get from her because in the first couple chapters you think that she's just trying to help her family, and it's like, but I'm gonna steal the thing, and you were all like, what?
What?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a crime.
I'm gonna
doing crimes. That's one of my favorite lines from Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Second one's coming out soon.
Dude, you don't gotta tell me. I'm so psyched. Oh my gosh. I tried to take vacation, but now like it doesn't look like I'm gonna be able to take that vacation, so it's a bummer.
I took too many vacation days for these 2 cruises, so there's no way that I could do that. I haven't even pre-ordered the game yet. I need to do that.
Yeah, I got the big version with the giant Sephiroth statue, so
that's way out of my price range.
Yeah, I mean I just did that. You know, you spend money on what you love, right? Like, you know, you spend a bunch of money on the year of Sanderlanche. I spent probably around the same amount of money on, or maybe a little less on the Sephiroth statue version.
So she tells her brother, I did it. I got the thing. And she says, I have the item, as if she's worried that this is going to be overheard or whatever. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. Are you on your way back? How are you using a span read on the ocean? And she's like, no, I haven't left. Wait, what? Why not? And she's like, no, look, see, it would be too suspicious if I left, like, and then she discovered the thing was broken. Like, she would instantly know. I got to wait till she discovers it, and then I can try to, like, redirect her suspicions in other directions. She's already suspicious of the Ardentia. And he's like, okay, but yeah, what if that doesn't happen? What if she just immediately assumes it's you and, like, searches you and finds it? And Shallan's like, well, that's still better than if I ran away and she had to come after us. Like, I know this woman now. She's not going to let this go. If she thinks that I robbed her, she will hunt me down. And she will exact retribution. It's if she figures out that I did it, it's better for me to be here, and she'll take it and probably cast me out. What is she saying? She's banished me from her sight. Is what she said. Which is very cool.
Turn you into like a crystal or smoke or fire. You know.
And she says, if we make her work and chase after me, she can be ruthless. It would not go well for us. She's gonna turn us all into smoke. Smoke them if you got them.
Smoke them if you got them.
And so, like, she's like, look, I need a few weeks to see what happens, and then I'll come up with a good reason and head home. And her brother's like, you know what? That's really smart. You've thought through this way better than I have. When did you get so good at logic, small one?
Probably at the same time you started pulling the legs off small animals.
Yeah, maybe.
I will never let that go.
The men who gave Father his fabrial visited again. They asked after you. I'm worried about them. They disturb me in a profound way. Well, bye.
Fat Tony's back.
Yes.
Or even better, robot mafia.
Dawnbot?
Yeah, Dawnbot.
The Dawnbot.
If we don't get this Fabrial, I'm gonna clamp you.
Hey, boss, didn't you say that Clance is back on that other planet?
Maybe the Robot Mafia and Fat Tony are all involved on different planets. They're part of the same organization.
Oh, shit. Now
It's
I am
all-
suspicious. His leg's been sawn off.
But yes, so I do like the thought that like she finds a maid in her room. It's like, wait, I don't know this maid. Did Yasna send someone to search my room? Did she already do that? Did she like find it and switch out the one that I took with the one that I left when I wasn't paying attention? And now I've got the fake one again, or the broken one again. And then she's like, okay, look, you're being dumb. Yasna's subtle, but she's not that subtle, which is hilarious because somebody had a theory last time that Yasna's even more subtle than that. That like she engineered the whole thing from the beginning.
Oh, I'm still not convinced that ain't the case. I'm going to follow that volcano to the core.
So,
Yeah, if you were that subtle, no one would know you're that subtle, right? That's
True.
how subtlety.
If you do things right, no one will be sure you've done anything at all. Boom.
Yeah, it was going great until everyone died.
she thinks maybe I should put the Soulcaster in my safe pouch instead of leaving it in my secret trunk compartment. Basically, a woman's safe pouch is so private that to search one would be the equivalent of strip searching, which, considering her rank, would be virtually unthinkable unless she were obviously implicated. Although Yasna could probably force it. Then again, if she did that she could also search the trunk. So.
And at this point, if it makes her feel better and act less guilty, just do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you don't need to like do a Zoidberg and have a note that says Cab Sal confesses from the desk of Shallan.
It was me. It was me, Cabsol. Bye forever from the desk of Shallan.
He's wearing a shirt that says I want Fabrials.
And so, she as she's leaving, she does get a note from Cabsol with some bread and some jam. This is Blue Bar jam. If you like it, it means you're mysterious, reserved, and thoughtful. And so she goes out and eats some bread and jam and starts drawing nature. She draws shale bark and snails and cremlings, which I think we actually saw these drawings not long ago. Which chapter was it? It was before chapter 37 in my version, where we have drawings of shale bark and a shale snail and some cremlings. So we saw it.
Yeah, we
she
do.
draw it.
I missed that before, but yep, I found it.
And drawing things relaxes her a little bit, so that's nice. She's feeling less crazy, although not completely happy. And she decides, you know what? I haven't been able to find any information on how to use the Soulcaster. Let's just give it a shot. Let's try it and see what happens. What could possibly go wrong with that? And so she puts it on, and she finds a piece of shale bark, and she just, in her head, is like, become smoke, become crystal, fire, burn, you're fire. Jeez, it's not working.
Go, Webb, go.
Yeah, well.
Up and away, Webb.
And so she's just out here with this Soulcaster on, like pointing at things, which is probably not something to do in public. Let's be quite honest here, but she's got to figure it out. Like the one guy they knew who knew how to use one is now dead. So it's like Nanbalat had asked Luesh, and he was just like, it's much easier for me to show you than explain. So once you get one, I'll show you. But he's dead now. So
you asshole.
And wouldn't it be just the height of irony if after all this work she got back and they couldn't figure out how to use it? And we find out Soulcasters, these are not something that like Fabrials that are created these days. Like we've seen some Fabrials. We saw a heating Fabrial. We saw the Fabrial that Merchant had that detects when somebody's coming close. Those are modern Fabrials built by Artifabrians. Soulcasters are ancient Fabrials. They don't work like modern ones. They don't really, I think, even know how to make more. How would she figure out the method of using a tool thousands of years old? One forbidden to any but the Ardents? That's a good question. And so she thinks maybe she can like look through some books or ask Cabsol. He's an Ardent. But how do you ask, like, hey, by the way, I mean, not that I have one, but if I had one, how would I use a Soulcaster?
Yeah, just say it's for scholarly understanding.
The thing that you're forbidden, or the Ardents are forbidden from telling anyone, just tell me. We're cool, right?
Yeah, I mean, you send me jam. You want to hang out with me because you like me. Like, you just tell me, right?
Just frame it as my God, I saw her turn a dude to smoke. How hypothetically would I do that?
She even has some other thoughts, like maybe if we can't figure out how to fix it, we can take it and give it to our king, and he'll protect us, like in exchange for this valuable gift. Which, hey, that's a plan B, I guess. But then she's like, oh, that would make me feel even worse if I didn't just steal the Soulcaster to save my family. I then give it to the Ardents, the people who Yasna disdains. That's an even greater betrayal somehow. And then she ends the chapter with like, that's a good thing Yasna's determined to train me in how to deal with difficult decisions, because I got a bunch of those. And then we have chapter 40, Eyes of Red and Blue. And the epigraph says, death upon the lips, sound upon the air, char upon the skin. From The Last Desolation, which I guess is a poem, or it says line 335, which sounds like an epic poem to me, but I guess it could be a book that you don't use pages, you go by lines. I don't know.
What, like a Shakespearean play?
Yeah, fair point. It could be a play.
Yeah. I read things at work sometimes that have like line numbers on them as opposed to like
Spreadsheets.
No, definitely not spreadsheets. That's not what I'm talking about.
Well, this is from an ancient spreadsheet. You just the whole thing.
Yeah, it's called Roshar Books Pro.
Yeah. So in this chapter, Kaladin wakes up, and I think we found out it's been like 10 days that he's been down, and he's doing okay. Shockingly, he's doing okay. He's like, I really should be dead. What is going on? And they're out here practicing with the bridge, and Moash notices Kaladin and freezes and nearly causes everyone to fall down. And then they all see Kaladin, and they're like, what? And Kaladin's like, yeah, you guys should practice what to do if one of you trips or stumbles. You all just about fell over when Moash stopped abruptly. I feel like they should be used to this. Like, they get shot and die while running these bridges. They should know what to do when somebody stumbles. And everyone comes in. There's a big group hug. People thumping him on the back, and he's just like, I don't think that's appropriate for a sick guy, but especially when Rock does it. But what are you going to do?
Please, my bones have only just healed.
The bones. I always forget about the bones. And so he's trying to figure out what in his experience was a delusion and what is a memory. There was Deathspren. There was also a giant face. Was that the Stormfather himself? Surely not. And so he thinks, like, my ribs have healed. That would take weeks. I must have been down for at least 3 weeks. And Moash says 10 days. And Kaladin's like, what? That's impossible. We lost 2 people on the 2 bridge runs while he was unconscious. Idleir and Treff, which are names I don't know that we've ever heard before. So bye, you 2 guys we didn't know.
Yeah, random guys who were friends, but we'd never met.
And then the horn goes off. It's time for a bridge run. And they're now calling Kaladin Captain Kaladin, because they tried to make Rock bridge leader while Kaladin was down, and the men refused. And so they just called him squad leader, and Kaladin is captain. And Gaz isn't happy about that, but what are you going to do?
Gaz is never happy, let's be honest.
It's so true. I guess he seemed kind of happy when he thought Kaladin was going to die.
Even that wasn't happy. That was more just like oh, thank God.
Yeah, one problem solved.
And so they're going to go on a bridge run. Kaladin's going to join Lopin and David with the water skin thing so that he's not involved in the running the bridge, because he's still not strong enough, according to Rock. They don't lose any people on this bridge run. They got there at the same time as the Parshendi and didn't have to face down the archers. And Kaladin takes this moment to finally look at the battle as a whole and try to figure out, like, how all of this works. We've got Sigzil here, which I think we've run into Sigzil a couple times, but he was
one of the grumpy ones, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He is he has a very dark colored skin, not true black like a Parshman's, but he is Azish. And they get into a discussion. Kaladin's like, why are they fighting? Why did the Parshendi fight? I know why we're fighting. Why do they fight? And like Rock's like, well, probably because they don't want to be beheaded for killing your king. So how very unaccommodating of them. He's like, yeah, but why do they fight for the gem hearts? It's cost them so many men. Like, why do they keep fighting? And Sigzil says, oh, I can tell you. They must have soul casters. They need gemstones for the same reason we do, to make food. Because the whole point is that they're being besieged out here in the middle of this plain, which doesn't seem good for growing much of anything. So they need food too. And then they have a discussion about why can't bridgemen use shields? And Rock believes the company line that would make them too slow. And Sigzil's like, no. You could send bridgemen with shields out in front, running in front of everybody else. Nobody would be slowed down. You'd need extra bridgemen, but we lose so many that, like, in the long run, you would save bridgemen. Like, you wouldn't lose nearly as many people, even with the extras. Kaladin, after hearing what Lamoral said about bridgemen are supposed to die, he gets it. We are bait. They want us out there so that the Parshendi shoot us instead of a soldier, because the soldiers cost a lot of money to train and outfit. We don't cost much. It's like, seeing a bridge fall must give the Parshendi a great sense of satisfaction, and they usually drop 2 or 3. There's no way for them to know that they don't care about us at all.
Thaddeus is Zap Brannigan sending wave after wave of his own men.
Exactly. Like, pretty much literally, yeah. And so this is a depressing realization for everyone. but nothing they can do about it. It doesn't really change anything for them to understand. Rock is making food. Everybody's happy because nobody died today. Kaladin is the only one who's unhappy because he now really understands just how futile all of this is. Why Sadeas refused to acknowledge Kaladin's survival? Because he was already a bridgeman, and that was a death sentence in and of itself. He had these ideas about proving them how that they could make things more efficient, they could be more useful to show that they deserved shields and armor. But no, that wasn't going to work because a bridgeman who survived was by definition a bridgeman who'd failed. It's all very depressing. And then we have a moment where Maps stands up. It's an interesting name for a bridgeman. And they've gotten a present for Rock because Rock is always complaining that he can't shave. They bought him a razor and a little piece of metal to use as a mirror. And Rock is so overcome with emotion that he's just like, it's beautiful. The stew's ready. And then he runs off. And Kaladin has a bit of a talk with Sigzil. And Sigzil reveals that, yes, he is educated. Among my people, it's not a sin for a male to be keen of mind. Sigzil says, my education was never completed. And Kaladin says, yeah, neither was mine. I apprenticed as a surgeon. And there's a whole discussion about, like, yeah, the men think you're secretly a light eyes. And he's, what do you mean? My eyes are dark brown. And Sigzil's like, you don't have the right word in your language. To you, a light eyes means a leader. In other kingdoms, there's other things that make you a man of. So basically, I think the word that he's looking for is like noble or something like that, like a nobleman or the equivalent of that. But they don't have a word for that in Alethi. In Alethi, it's just light eyes. If you're light eyes, then you're part of the upper class. If you're dark eyes, you're lower class. Sigzil hints that, or not hints, he pretty much says that he's here because he tried to kill somebody. He did not succeed. He calls himself a murderer, but says that he didn't actually succeed in killing the guy he tried to kill. Whoever, he says, my master, and then he trails off. And he's like, oh, did you try to kill your master? No. And that's all we get of that. So something's up with this dude, too.
Is that really the end of that story? Okay.
Good story, bro.
Frustratingly vague.
And Sigzil's like, you know what? You're right about the bridgemen. We're sent here to die. It's the only reasonable explanation. And then he tells a story about a place called Marabethia, a place where they have a great fondness for debates. At each intersection in the city, they have small pedestals on which a man can stand and proclaim his arguments. It's like that meme of the guy who's sitting at the table with the sign that's like, I think blah, 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 changed my mind.
Yeah. I was thinking more, it's like, is it Life of Brian where, like, the more you got the street, there's just another preacher yelling something? There's like a whole line of them.
I didn't see Life of Brian. I will take your word for this.
Oh, man, you got to see Life of Brian. I'd say it's probably the best of the Monty Python movies.
It is on my list to eventually get to. I think we've discussed it on here before, and you guys convinced me that I should watch it at some point, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. But also, it's said that everyone there carries around a pouch with overripe fruit in case they pass a proclaimer with whom they disagree. That's nice. But yes.
That would frustrate me, having to carry that around as well.
I mean, it probably stinks or something after a while, right? Like, how often do you have to refresh your pouch?
How do you have to refresh your slightly rotting fruit so that On the other hand, I'm kind of intrigued by the notion of I don't like what you're saying and throwing, smart.
Yeah.
There's something sort of liberating about that notion.
It's true.
That would make work meetings more entertaining.
Shut up. I like it.
As long as you're not the one leading the meeting and getting fruit thrown at you, it's all good.
Yeah, therein lies the problem, right? If you're willing to give that, you've got to be willing to take that, and I don't know that I'm willing to take that.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Agreed. But he says that the reason he brought up Marabethia is because when they condemn criminals, they give them a choice. Either we can execute you, or we'll hang you off the side of a cliff where these giant, they're like chasm fiends, not quite as big as chasm fiends, but still big, great shells is what they call them. And so they dangle you over the side of the cliff, and they cut a slice on each of your cheeks, and they leave you there for the great shells to come and eat. But they say if you hang there for a week and don't get eaten, then you go free. And Kaladin's like, oh, so does that happen often? And Sigzil says, no, never. But prisoners almost always take the chance. I think I'm going to ask for execution, quite honestly, instead of like eaten by crab. Even hanging upside down for a week, I don't know that you're going to survive that. Just period.
Just imagine it's like you're hanging upside down, you're waiting for this crab monster to come out and kill you, and then people just start lobbing rotten fruit at you as well.
Honestly, you might be happy. You're going to need some food and or water at that point, and you might take what you can get.
Yes.
Does it say that they're upside down too?
It says that they cut their cheeks and the blood like drips into their eyes.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Because-
I'm pretty sure you'd be dead from hanging upside down in like a day.
Yeah.
Unless the vascular system of Rosharians works differently than humans.
Yeah. They have a saying for someone that refuses to see the truth of a situation. You have eyes of red and blue, red for the blood dripping, blue for the water. It said that these are the two things all prisoners see. Usually they're attacked within a day.
So I'm a little bit ashamed to point out that it took this far into the chapter for me to realize, oh, Eyes of Red and Blue was not a reference to Autonomy's people. And I was like, wait, no, that was Red and Gold, dumbass.
Yep. They were the men of red and gold. Yep.
Yep. I spent this whole chapter going, oh my god, is this going to be an Autonomy reference? And then realized, wait, I had the wrong color. Disregard.
And so Sigil, like, he says, you know what? You're okay. At first, I hated you for lying to these men, but I've come to see that the false hope makes them happy. It's like giving medicine to a sick man to ease his pain until he dies. Now these men can spend their last days in laughter. You are a healer indeed, Kaladin Stormblessed.
How the fuck? Okay, well, no, I get how the name has followed him, but it's like, what a coincidence that his name from the army when at the start of the book has followed him here when nothing else has.
Right?
That seems like too much of a coincidence. Something else is at work here.
It does seem, yes, like there's something else happening that, although I feel like, if anything, he deserves it more now, given that he was out in the storm and survived it.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
It makes sense, but it's like, is it a common name that people get? Like, how did he get it to start with? Like, this just really stuck in my craw a bit. Like, hang on a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I need more
Yeah,
information.
not only that, but like Kaladin doesn't like say anything. He's like, how do you know that in the
Yeah.
And
title?
he commented when somebody called him Lordling that like, wait, how they? But this, he's just like, oh no, I get it. It's my thing. Yeah. Rock comes back out, so happy. Although to Kaladin's surprise, he didn't shave off everything. He shaved off like around his lips, like so a mustache and just under the lips, and then like a straight line down his chin in the middle, and just left his two like giant mutton chops. But he is thrilled. He says, "A peak dweller's Humaka Aban is his pride. I feel like a true man again." And then he offers to share it with anybody else who wants to shave. And we end the chapter with Kaladin thinking, "Oh, Stormfather, I'm falling back to the wretch I was. I'm losing my grip on myself. He couldn't carry the hopes of all the bridgemen. He just wasn't strong enough."
Before we move on, I'm going to also point out, it's like, he accepted the bowl of stew Dunny brought him, but didn't eat it. I, too, would not eat any stew from the Dunny.
Fair enough.
There is a whole episode of Bluey called Dunny.
Yep.
If you want to ever hear about what the Aussies are talking about with Dunny, that's it.
Yep.
It's not a word the Queen would say.
But would the king say Dunny is the question now.
I think good, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I bet he'd give it a go. Be like, oh, you lot. I'm gonna make him sound really cockney and ignorant. It's funny to me. You lot call it a Dunny, eh? All right. Guess I'll call it a Dunny. Hey, by the way, can I use the Dunny? Where's it at?
Didn't realize Ron was.
Yeah, Ron is king now. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, you didn't know? Hey, Weasley. Yeah, Weasley is our king. What can I tell you?
Hey!
Yeah.
It's all coming together.
It's one of my favorite SNL sketches is when Fred Armisen used to play the Queen, and then Bill Hader would play the Queen consort, and they would both talk like super, like super bad, like Cockney accents, playing the royals. It was good fun. Look it up
Yeah.
if you've never seen it. It's like Prince Philip's just like, not very nice, is it? But it gets the job done, don't it? Just stuff like that. It's amazing.
Okay. Before the next chapter, we get a drawing of an axe hound. We met one of them earlier, and I told you guys at the time that we would eventually see a drawing of one. I find it deeply disturbing
I find it kind of cute in a horrific sort of way.
in a horrific sort of way. Just the close-up of the mouth open with like the little mandibles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty horrifying.
It's like
Is it-
just the picture below that of just like the whole body. And it's like, oh, it looks fine up until you see the close up on the face.
So this is what passes for a pet in this world. This crab dog, kind of a crayfish tail.
I mean, I would 100% have one of these as a pet. I would call him Clicky.
Clicky.
You would call him Zoidberg, and you know it.
Yeah.
Touche.
Yeah, one fine day with a clack and a woof, a baby was born in a cosmos
No.
stir.
No. I don't.
Crab dog.
I hated
Crab dog.
Crab Dog would have been a better show.
Little crab dog.
Our last chapter is the flashback to 5.5 years ago.
You sound so beleaguered.
No, I'm just thinking about Cat Dog now, and I don't like it.
Cat Dog. Yeah, in all fairness, Cat Dog was a messed up show.
It was bizarre.
This chapter is called Of Alds and Milp,
Mm.
which is a weird name that doesn't make sense till the end.
Yeah, and it's like, to me, it's like Brandon was having fun with this chapter title. He's like, this is going to be my Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead moment. It's like these guys that are side characters died, and that's the chapter of the title of the chapter.
It's true. I didn't. That's an interesting comparison to draw. So we start with Laurel screaming as Kaladin pushes his way into the surgery room. We have Bright Lord Relir, Roshon's son, is on one of the tables, and Roshon himself is on another table. And Relir has an evil-looking tusk-like thing jutting from his abdomen. And his dad has similar bony spears shoved into his leg. And Laurel's at the door just screaming, "Do something! Work harder! He can't! He was where it happened, and I don't care, and let me go!" And so Lirin, Kaladin has showed up to help Lirin, who is working furiously trying to save these people. There's some details on like the kid's eyeball and stuff that we're not going to get into because it's gross. But just these two are injured quite badly is the upshot. And Kaladin's like, "What is that?" And his father says, "A white spine tusk."
Yeah. So basically, these guys went hog hunting, as people tend to do in our great state, and they got messed up.
Which that can happen.
Yeah, I knew a guy who he was hunting a wild hog, and it charged him and gored him in such a way that it tore the tendon in his leg, so his whole lower body just went out from under him, and so he had to have surgery to replace that. And the surgeons did not stabilize his mouth well, so while he was in surgery, he bit down so hard he cracked or he chipped his teeth.
Oh,
so, yeah. So the upside was the upside was he got his medical bills paid for, so he didn't have to pay for anything because of the teeth thing.
I guess
still a pretty
good. Yeah, people like to hunt dangerous stuff. I mean, we started out the part 2 or whatever with the king hunting a chasm fiend. So compared to that, this isn't so bad. We don't actually know what a white spine is, but if you can hunt it without a shard blade and shard plate, then it's already not so bad comparatively.
Just tell these guys.
And so Lirin, after he's working on Relir, and then eventually he just walks over and starts working on Roshon instead. And Roshon's like, "What are you doing? What about my son?" And Lirin says, "Your son is dead." He's like, "No, he's not dead. I can see him moving. Tend to him." And he tells Kaladin to get the Daze Water, which that's a fun name for something that knocks you out. And Lirin has to explain to this guy as he's treating him that he has 3 rules for triage, essentially, when trying to decide between 2 patients. If their wounds are equal, you treat the youngest first. If the wounds are unequal, you treat the most gravely wounded first. And Roshon's like, "Yes, exactly. You should be looking at my son." It's like, no, the 3rd rule overrides both of the others. You have to know when someone's beyond your ability to help. I'm sorry, I'd save him if I could, but I can't. And Roshon is trying to he's horribly injured, but he's trying to get up out of the bed to do something to save his son. And they put these bandages soaked in Daze Water over his mouth to knock him out. And then he says to also give some to Relir. It's the only mercy we can give him. Relir, another of those names that's exactly symmetrical. Random thing I noticed just now. And Lirin's just idiots. Isn't sending half of us off to war enough for them? They have to seek death even when living in a quiet town. And Kaladin's like, "Dad, he's not going to be happy when he wakes up." And there is a moment as Lirin is cutting tusk free that says the knife is right next to the femoral artery. And Kaladin thinks just one little flick and he would bleed out and no one would ever know that that Lirin didn't do everything he could to save him. And Lirin kind of hesitates, and then he looks at Kaladin, and he finishes up and saves the guy's life. And we cut to later, where Kaladin's just sitting outside thinking about all this stuff. And Lirin comes out, and Kaladin's like, "I saw what you did. You would have let him die if I hadn't been there, wouldn't you? Why didn't you? It would have solved so much." And Lirin's like, "No, that would have been murder. Murder is bad." which we've previously established is an official stance of this podcast. Murder bad. I don't know if anyone is second guessing that in this situation.
Like, do we need to underline that? I thought that was pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I mean, murder bad.
Huh.
Food good. Dogs good.
And he's
Murder still bad.
Yeah. I mean, Rashon though, Kaladin is like, I might have let him die. I'm just saying. And Laren's like, no, I couldn't have not saved him because I'm not a killer. Somebody has to start. Somebody has to do what is right because it is right. If nobody starts, then no one else can follow. They do their best to kill themselves and us. The others still haven't brought back Alds and Milp, 2 townsmen who'd gone on the hunt with them and had apparently been just as injured as the 2 Light Eyes. But the Light Eyes didn't give a shit. They left them behind to die. We have to be better than they are. And Kaladin's thinking after Liren leaves, he's like, would I have let him die? Maybe even, flick the knife a little bit, get him there quicker? No, cutting the artery wouldn't have been justified. But what obligation did Kaladin have to help? Withholding his aid was not the same as killing. At that moment, Kaladin knew that he could kill if he needed to. Some people, like a festering finger or leg shattered beyond repair, just needed to be removed. Which, to draw another parallel back to Wise Man's Fear, which we've done before, is a lesson that someone teaches Kavoth in that book. Some people just need killing. Joe's like, I don't know that I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, look, him saying withholding is not the same as killing. If you have the ability to not even easily, if you have the ability to, without threat to yourself, help somebody and you choose not to, and it's a life or death situation, you're killing them. That may not be everybody's opinion, but like if you're weighing threat against ability to help, like I think that he did have a duty. And what maybe he doesn't understand even now, even though he knows his dad is a surgeon, is I assume they have some kind of code. Maybe they don't. Yeah, I was about to say they might have some kind of Hippocratic oath. Maybe they don't, because Hippocrates does not exist in their world, but still.
It's like the last episode of Seinfeld, or like Batman Begins, where he's just like,
yep,
I'm not gonna kill you, but I don't have to save you. Joe says Ra's al Ghul should have been saved.
I don't say he should have been saved. I think we could easily say though that is Batman killing somebody.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Like I don't say like Ra's al Ghul shouldn't have died, but at the same time Batman did knowingly be like, I'm going to let you die.
Yeah. Ra's al Ghul did nothing wrong. No one's.
No, Ra's al Ghul did plenty wrong.
Yeah. No one's making that claim.
I'm making that claim for you. Which, as Shalon says, is basically the same thing.
He has the Lazarus pit. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Not that his daughter in the 3rd movie did not feel that way. Okay, sorry. That's our chapters this time. So predicaments. What do you guys? We've gotten some more information. As Jamie said, Liren has super pissed off the City Lord now. Super special pissed off or whatever it was. So you can predict, make some predictions about what's going to happen back in Young Man Kaladin days, or where are we going from here? Kaladin doesn't see a way out at this point, so what does he do from here?
I'm going to go somewhere else for my prediction. Even though we didn't really see much of her this time around, I think we've wondered a lot about what's up with Syl. I actually think she might be in the same way that preservation was just the mists on the planet. I wonder if Syl might just be like a shard with amnesia or something.
Oh,
like an aspect of shard power. She held like I'm fairly certain that she is responsible for Kaladin's good luck and the Dun spheres. There's something to do with her influence on him. She said she's been watching him for a long time, longer than he's been aware of it. So it wasn't just in the slave cart when he first saw her that she first saw him. But she held back the storm. And in Kaladin's vision in this chapter, she held back death from him. So yeah, I think she might not just be a little lost Windspren. Like I think she's all just like, oh, what's happening to me? Why am I changing? Why am I growing? And it's like, because you were never a Windspren to begin with. I think you actually might be the Shard.
Ooh.
I don't know which. I don't think she's the malicious. I don't think she's Odium. Maybe this is a Shard that's in direct conflict with him. That maybe Odium thought he killed, and turns out nah. So, I mean, there's still got to be like a bearer of the Shard power, and maybe that person's in a coma or something, and Syl is just like the subconscious part of their power flitting around. I don't know, but just like that image in Kaladin's vision of like the little figure holding back death or whatever it was, like that made me think, all right, well that's Syl, and she's way more powerful than we thought. So yeah,
This is a cool possibility. Okay, I'm on board. Let's. I like this idea that's like someone's in a coma somewhere, and this is like they got all this power, so this is like the projection of the power, and they've forgotten. Yeah, that could be super cool, actually.
well yeah, I
So
mean we still don't know.
dogma situation. God's in a coma.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really know what happens to someone's body when they become a shard, because we saw Ruin and we saw Atty and Leras die, and their body just kind of popped out of thin air and fell on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, Preservation was barely conscious while he was the Mist. He was just conscious enough to talk to people as they die. So who knows? Like, it could be a similar thing. Like, Syl is like so cut off from her power that this is all the conscious thought she's able to summon is one little apparent Windspren. I don't know. And just the whole like she's so against people lying. I'm like, you're very fixated on that. That could be an aspect of shard power, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, or it could even be an aspect of we still don't know what particular shard exactly. Like it could be the sort of thing that it is. It's like this is the shard of honesty, so obviously she hates lies.
Maybe not so much that. We know that like Brandon likes to use like some very flowery sort of words for the shard names. Maybe integrity. Let's go integrity.
Yeah, more like that. Yeah.
Truth in action as well as deed. I mean, truth in action as well as thought. That's what I mean. Yes.
Yeah, that thing. The thing that I said. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got this week. But yeah, that's where my mind went to turning.
That is, I do like that came out in a chapter or in a section where, like you said, we didn't see too much still. We saw a little bit of her, and it was a kind of dramatic moment of her like fending off these Deathspren.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I like this idea. Cool.
So I feel like I've kind of sprinkled some stuff throughout. So let's kind of go back to the beginning here. So we've got Kaladin surviving. Yeah, I like what Dax said about her holding back the storm, and then very very possibly holding back death. And so we've got obviously something going on with Syl, something going on with Kaladin as well. So really, I guess my biggest thing is if Syl is a shard and has amnesia or is a projection of a shard's power, like where do they converge? Where does she converge with Kaladin? Is it like it was just crazy random happenstance, or what is inside Kaladin that called out to her originally? Because it sounds like she'd been following him for a long time. So like why was she following him? Is she reacting to Kaladin's power, or is he reacting to her power, or are they both reacting to each other's power? And like where does that kind of stem from? So I'm going to predict a little bit differently. I like Dak's predicament, but him talking about all that made me think. I think Syl is actually her maybe not her original essence, but her consciousness and stuff is a projection of Kaladin's power. I think he's the one who's causing her to actually become somewhat human-like in emotions, consciousness, understanding truth, honesty, those kinds of things. I think Jamie had predicted this before, and I agree. I don't think she's actually a Windspren. I think she's something else. Maybe another kind of Spren that we don't know about, but like I don't think she's a Windspren. And so we've got that piece there. I think that's as much as I can say about Syl this go round. And then Shallan, moving on to that next section. I just have to keep considering that Shallan's eventually going to open up to Yasna about what's going on. And I really do. The more we read, the more I'm starting to believe that both Fabrials actually work, and that they're either that or Yasna knows a way to fix the Fabrial very easily. So like she might think, oh, my Fabrial busted, I'll just fix it. Like I think what's going to end up happening is that Yasna is going to teach Shallan how to use the Fabrial. And so at some point it's going to come out that there are two of them, whether Yasna realizes that Shallan has hers or not, her original one or not, like it's going to come out that there are two of them, and then Shallan's going to start learning how to use the Fabrial itself from Yasna specifically. So that's what I'm going to predict on that. And then going forward, I think like I said at the beginning, like Teft, when he confronts Kaladin about like these powers or whatever, like he's going, I think this is going to be the boost that Kaladin needs to kind of get over this like hopelessness feeling that he's having right now. It's like once Teft confronts him about it and been like, hey, look, this is what happened. This is what I saw when I gave you spheres. Like something about, and I would hope that that's going to build some momentum in our story and get things kind of rolling for Kaladin, because it feels like he's kind of been stuck in this, between literally a guy named Rock, and and a hard place on the plateau. Like I think things are going to hopefully start moving pretty soon for Kaladin, and primarily that will be because of Teft, telling Kaladin like, hey, this is you've got like some magical powers, man. So I think that's where we're going.
Okay, I'm now picturing this scene of like Shallan and Yasna are sitting around one day, and Yasna tries to use her soulcaster and doesn't work. She's like, oh yeah, this thing got out of alignment, and she like turns something 30 degrees and it works fine, and Shallan's jaw just drops open like, all this stuff that I did for that'd be hilarious.
I think this dude's assistant, like her dad's assistant or whatever, who said he knew how to use it, I think he was full of crap.
I was about to say, if she fixes that easily, then it's like, oh, Lewis, you were just a fucking liar.
Yeah, I think he was either intentionally lying or he's just an idiot.
Both good options, solid options. But yeah, no, I'm really hoping for this scene now. And then we got the I'm sorry, I almost said something I shouldn't say. Sorry.
Whoa, almost spoiled it. Wow, look at you.
Maybe some of your predictions are just so good and so close that, or maybe they were just so far off that I
you're like the ridiculousness of this, because we all know that's not what happens. Wait, what?
Yeah, it could be either one. But yes, no, and like you said, you kind of sprinkled some ideas as we went along this week, so you had a lot of decent thoughts coming and going here. So good stuff. I'm excited for us to get into some of the things that are coming up.
So I like where the other guys have gone with their predictions today. So the one that I was going to focus on more was from the flashback. Really, I think seeing as Roshon is extra special pissed off was my
yeah, okay,
analysis of his current mindset. I reckon that maybe he is going to kill Tien to get back at Liren for letting Rilla die. And then maybe that pisses Liren off extra special also. I don't know what will happen, but I think that will be the event that puts a stop to Kaladin being able to then go and study, because he will be filled with this rage. The catalyst event to send Kaladin on his path to join the army, because his revelation today about he could kill someone if he had to, maybe he'll kill Roshon and go on the run or something. Don't know. I don't think it's going to end well for the characters that are involved there. Tadsal, don't like him. He's not even in these chapters, and I don't like him.
All he does is send jam and bread.
His gifts of jam just strike me as really weird, and the fact that this type of jam means you're like mysterious and thoughtful and yada yada. I'm like, what do you know? What do you know that we don't know? I don't like him. I then started thinking about this like outrageous plot that maybe Nan Balat is actually already dead and the wife was a spy, and they're all working together to get the Fabrial Soulcaster. I don't know exactly. I haven't really fleshed it out, but that's kind of where my brain went straight away. I know there was the code phrase to be like, yes, it is him. But if the wife was a spy, a trusted spy, just the fact that these guys keep turning up and they're like, I'm really scared of them. Like, what's going on? Just sounds like that's not going to end well either for them. I'll think on that a bit more. Teft and Kaladin, they need to have a little powwow, because Teft knows a lot more, not just about what's like, he seems to know kind of the mythology, I guess, of what is happening to Kaladin, but then Rock also could see Syl and knows a little bit more about Syl, so I kind of need them to come in on the discussion as well, so that they can all talk. And I think that's the thing for me, that looking at Dak's prediction that Syl is at the Shard, but Rock can see the Shard, which is fine, but the Shard, does that have something to do directly with Kaladin, or is it kind of a more cultural thing for the Highlanders, I guess, if he's calling everyone else Lowlanders? I don't really know where he sits in this whole thing. But yeah, that's kind of where my brain's going. Bigger prediction is that Roshon kills Tien, but lots of thoughts on where everyone else is going to fit at the moment.
Roshon kills Tien. That would be real dark. And the thing is, Kaladin seems to blame himself for what happens to Tien. So if Roshon kills Tien, Kaladin has to be involved in some way, or maybe he just incorrectly blames himself. That could happen.
If Kaladin had nicked the artery, Roshon wouldn't be there to do it.
Well, but that way Kaladin didn't get to hold the blade. That's his dad who's allowed to hold knives.
Yeah. If Kaladin wasn't there, maybe Lirin would have done it, despite his thing about Lirin not being a murderer. I don't know. I mean, there's still a lot more book. Something else could come out, but I can't imagine that Roshon is going to be happy for Lirin and Kaladin to live there in their town anymore. And yeah.
I mean, I don't know how if Roshon does something to Tien, regardless of what it is, like despite the fact that Lirin is like, you have to do what's right. I'm not a murderer. If someone kills your kid, then if you do not have a severe reaction to that, I think that we're into bad parent territory, regardless of your personal feelings. So yeah, if that happened, I feel like Lirin has to have some major reaction.
And it kind of cycles back into our all of the things that Shallan was looking at. The word escapes me.
The philosophy stuff, yeah.
Philosophies, yeah. Are you doing something bad if you're justified for doing it? It's like, are you justified for doing it? Were you under threat? Maybe you are under threat.
That's true. I also like your feelings about Cab-Saul, because it's just like this. Maybe he's just a really awkward flirt. Like he doesn't know how to flirt. He's just sending jam. Like maybe this will get me somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, like he wants something. And I don't know that it's necessarily like he wants Shallan, but he wants something. And I mean, he wants to, I guess, convert Yasna.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Direct approach is not going to work because she's fully aware that that's what's coming. So I don't trust him. Anyone who just sends jam to people, I don't trust. What do you want? Why are you sending me jam?
She's just like, I get jam. I love jam. I'm happy. I don't know if she's looking into it deeply enough.
Maybe it is just a nice thing to do. Maybe he's like, hey, I've made a friend and she likes jam. We'll try all sorts of different jam. Maybe that's totally fine. But I mean, I wouldn't just be sending someone jam. Weird.
It's a little bit weird. Yeah, no. I got some jam as a Christmas present. So, That's,
yeah, but it was Christmas. You didn't just get jam for the sake of someone sending you.
It's true. I
got really nice jams. Like, they're gift worthy. That's fine.
I got prickly pear jam made from cactus fruit. It's pretty good.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah. So yes, some interesting thoughts here about we like you keep saying, like, we must be close to something in these flashbacks. Something's got to be explained soon. So it really does seem like things have been ramping up with the last couple, like the confrontation with Roshon, and now like the death of Roshon's son. Things can only get more extreme from here, I feel like.
You'd think so.
So yeah, we'll see. We're I'm not gonna say we're approaching the end of part 3. Part 3 is a pretty long part. I think we have 4 more episodes left of part 3, so we'll see what happens before then. Okay, using that to transition for next time. Actually, for the next several episodes, we're going to read 2 chapters. So that's kind of why part 3 is still 4 more episodes, because we're going to be reading 2 chapters at a time for the next 3 episodes. So next time we're going to read chapters 42 and 43, which this may actually be the smallest section that we read for an episode in this whole book, but it's because there was no other way to maneuver it because of the size of the various chapters. So anyway, that's for next time, 42, 43, for people following along. We have a bunch of new emails because it's been a while since we recorded. And but first, we have one new patron. So Joe, get ready for that first. If I can find where I put my patron screen. There it is. With this person joined the Patreon on January 15th at the Mistborn level.
Ooh, Mistborn.
And it is Jonathan.
Jonathan, you are like our buddy Wax. You're a skimmer.
Nice. There you go. All right. We're gonna try to do a bunch of these emails. So I'm gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We had 9 emails. So I'm gonna try to get through some of these here. The first one is from Adam. And it says, "Hi, Sanderlanche crew. I don't know if you ever took a look at the cymatics maps, but I've linked here in case you want to read them in detail. It's nothing too important. Yeah. So I mentioned when we were looking at the maps of those 4 cities in the illustration that I couldn't really read it well. I did, in fact, go back and find the more high-def version later, but Adam sent it in case we had not. Also, glad you added as an afternote that you found Kabsal's Devotary. Otherwise, I definitely would have issued a correction. So, yeah, I did. We discussed in that episode, we couldn't figure out what Devotary Kabsal was from. And then when I found it after the fact, Dak's like, yeah, you should go put that in. And so I did add an editor's note there.
Awesome.
Adam says, as an aside, I did want to mention that I really appreciate the way Brandon writes Yasna. For a religious person, he does a very good job giving the perspective and rationale of an atheist. As an atheist myself, I think her explanation of her views is very well thought out and holds up to scrutiny. I'm glad there's room for atheists and non-believers in Sanderson's work, despite the existence of gods, which it should be noted is different from capital G God. Crabs ahoy, Adam. Thank you, Adam. Interesting email. Did I send you guys that high def?
Negative.
That image? Okay, I'll send you guys that so you can read about it if you like.
Cool.
The next email
maps.
The next email is from Jacqueline. It says, Kelsier the Lawyer is the title. Jacqueline says, hey, Sanderlanche crew, I'm currently listening to episode 180 where Data makes the astute observation that you become a lawyer when you're dead on the inside. As a lawyer, I can confidently say that he is right. Law school steals your soul better than even a hemorrhagic spike does. This podcast helps bring some life back at the very least. It's been super fun listening to the crew's predictions, volcano theories, and hilarious jokes and references. I worked my way through the backlog of episodes over the summer while studying for the bar. The podcast was a great companion for going on walks and trying to maintain my sanity. It continues to treat me to a listen on Monday mornings. On more than one occasion, I've audibly gasped when Jamie or Dak or Joe made an out-of-pocket but entirely accurate prediction. It's been particularly fun to listen to you guys work through The Way of Kings. Against the internet's advice, but at the urging of my brother, I started the Cosmere with The Way of Kings. I was confused at times, but I loved it, so it's fun hearing the crew get to experience it for the first time too. Thanks for all the effort you guys put into the podcast. Crabs ahoy, Jacqueline. P.S. Since I'm sending an email anyway, here's my 5-star Spotify review. So she sent us a picture of her 5-star Spotify review. So now Joe has to go. Despite the fact that I told him there were no new reviews, he has to go.
Yeah. Did you not? I gotta ask you, do you vet these emails? Do you read them before we come on the show?
Yeah, but it was like, a long time ago with some of these. And I went on a weeks-long vacation recently. So
no, it's fine. Hey, guess what? You know what? You seem like a great person. You could be one of the newer Mistborn powers that we've talked about. You're a slider.
Slider, a tiny hamburger. There you go, Jacqueline. Hope you enjoy it.
I just love that ring endorsement. Law school, worse than a spike through the gut.
Yep, just kills you dead on the inside. I'm sorry to hear it. That was an awesome email. Thank you, Jacqueline. Next one from we read that one from Michael, listener and lawyer. Hey, Sanderlanche crew, longtime listener, and I am in fact a lawyer. The podcast actually helped me get through a combination of lockdowns and law school. From Data's poker face, poker voice, since this is an audio medium, I'd hate to have to question him on the stand. The deadpanned and sincere-sounding comments on the rest of the crew's reactions and predictions is great. The rest of y'all have made some great guesses and predictions, and he gives nothing away, at least when listening to predictions and wishes. So happy you finally reached the Stormlight Archive. It was my introduction to Brandon's work when I randomly grabbed The Way of Kings off the shelf at Barnes & Noble in high school. I don't count The Gathering Storm, as that wasn't entirely Brandon's work. By the time it's done, I can see the completed Stormlight rivaling The Wheel of Time in scale and epicness. And then potential spoiler, and yes, I agree with your potential spoiler. I won't read that, though. Wasing to the time of next, Colo, Michael, and then at the end, nothing contained in this email counts as legal advice. So thank you for the compliment to my poker face voice. I think I've mentioned before that when I love playing board games, and we have the trader games, the social deduction games where you have to figure out who the trader is, and I'm always voted off first. Not because I feel I act suspiciously. People have said
no one trusts you.
Yeah, it's like people have told me that I act exactly the same way when I'm innocent as when I'm guilty, which you would think is exactly what you would want to not give anything away. But I just get voted off first, whether I'm innocent or guilty, because they're just like something inherently untrustworthy about me, I guess. So I might not do well in front of a jury. I'm just saying I'll be there as a witness to something that happened, not a suspect at all, and the jury will be like, I don't know, I think that guy did it. Doesn't make any sense, but did you see him? He probably did it. So yes, thank you. We have several pretty short emails this time, so I'm going to go But yes, those were our 2 emails from Michael and Jacqueline, the lawyers who were triggered by my statement about lawyers, and we're like, okay, well, we got to write it now. So I appreciate you guys taking that well. It was just a joke. I will say here for legal purposes.
I feel like we've offended quite a few occupations over the course of this show.
Almost certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
Those high princes, we've offended the hell out of them.
Yeah, but none of them wrote in.
That's true. They're too important for that sort of thing. Or, I guess most of them just can't read or write. So talk about them all I want. What are they going to do? Okay. The next one is from Tim. It says, finally caught up. I found your podcast when Data posted it in the Stormlight Reddit. Decided to listen all the way through till I caught up. Well, I'm now caught up. I posted it after our second episode of Stormlight went up, I will mention that. So somebody caught up pretty quickly.
Bloody hell.
I even read the White Sand Omnibus with you guys, which was the only Cosmere thing I hadn't read. Excited to see your journey through Stormlight, as it's my favorite. Keep it up. Buzzing to the time of next. Colo. So thanks, Tim. I'm glad that you've enjoyed it. Also glad to know that posting on the subreddit about us starting Stormlight got some people interested. I always feel weird making those, like, I post on Reddit occasionally, not even quite once a book, maybe once every other book or so, to be like, hey, if anyone doesn't know about this podcast, here it is. And I always feel like, man, probably, like, everyone who sees this is just going to be like, well, I already knew about that. Why do you keep posting it, even though you haven't posted this in like 6 months? So good to know that some people actually are like, oh, hey, yeah, that was helpful to me.
We still got some.
Yeah. The next one is from Peter. It says, a question for. Good day to all the Sanderlange crew. I have a question for one of you in particular, and that is ... There's 4 dots there. That's not how you do an ellipsis. ... Jamie, in episode 1, you said you mainly read crime and don't have any experience with fantasy. How are you finding your in-depth introduction to the genre? Is it something that you would carry on with outside of the podcast? Go well, from Peter.
Oh, good question. I was like, oh no, episode 1. I don't remember what I said in episode 1, but no, this one I remember. Yes, I would. I think it's definitely been eye-opening, and I like it. I like the escape. I mean, crime is obviously stuff that probably will happen continuously, and there's a certain level of horror in that, to know that that's a thing people do, because people suck sometimes. But to immerse yourself in a world that is not something that could absolutely happen, well, obviously elements of it are inspired from real life. Yeah, no, I actually really like it, and I don't know why I wasted so much time. I haven't managed to get into much more really of anything. Shout out to all the parents of toddlers out there.
Right.
That makes it hard. I know when you get the toddler to bed, the last thing I want to do is go and pick up a book. I'm like, I'm tired. I've worked all day. I'm done. But no, I definitely see myself reading more in the future. And I mean, the guys have spoken about it a fair bit on the podcast, but Dresden Files, I'm looking at you. I'm going to come for you.
Nice.
First chance I get, I think, because I think that's a nice hybrid from what Dak informed me. It's a nice hybrid of
I've been
to read about. So yeah.
I've been encouraging that for a bit. The books are all here.
It's like, they're just right here if you're interested.
About a decade of you saying you should read Dresden Files.
Wore her down. Good job.
Yeah.
But yes, having toddlers can cut in on your time for doing anything else. So yeah, for sure.
Literally anything by yourself ever.
I tried when they were toddlers to read some Harry Potter, because I'm like, hey, well, I'll enjoy rereading Harry Potter, but there were no pictures, so they weren't super interested in sitting for that most of the time. So it's hard to get an adult book in.
And the attention span. So our child is loving more involved books. I don't know if anyone read Franklin as a kid, but she's really into the Franklin books now. And it's enough of a story that she's into the story, but it's not enough. And she could pick out the story that she wants to read, but it's not enough to get into an ongoing story. Yeah. I look forward to the day we can start reading a novel, because that would be really nice to read at bedtime. But no, instead I will read Franklin is Messy 3 times a night.
Yeah, I think you said Franklin. I didn't know what that was, and then I Googled it, and I'm like, oh, it's that turtle kid. I've seen him.
Turtle, yeah. They are her favorite at the moment.
I had forgotten about them for 20 years, and then it came back with a sudden vengeance.
But I do love reading with the little ones. So it's whatever it is, I enjoy it. It's fun.
It is good.
We were able to get into stuff like some of the Dr. Seuss stuff that's actually a story, like the Lorax or the Grinch Stole Christmas or things like that are a little bit bigger and actually have a story to them, but still have pictures and things. So it advances gradually for me. So I feel you. Glad to know that we've corrupted Jamie and gotten her interested in fantasy. It's good.
One of us.
Somebody was just chanting that in the Discord, actually. So that's hilarious. Okay, one more email, and then I'll save some for the future, since we had so many. This one is a very short one. It is titled Bananas, and it says, "Greetings, Sanderlanchers. What are your opinions on bananas? Thank you very much, from Ruben."
All right.
They are fine. I enjoy eating a banana from time to time. Sometimes that's like a complete breakfast for me because I'm on the go and I need a banana. But I do have trouble finding good bananas where we live. Especially because as a youth, I traveled to South America for a few months and the bananas were so delicious. And so then I came home and I was like, wow, these bananas are trash. So it is very difficult for me to find a good banana, but I do enjoy a banana from time to time.
No? Anybody else?
Yeah, they're bananas. They're okay.
Is this person looking for like sexy sound bites about us like
no
banana
strong
eating?
feelings one way or the other.
Yeah.
How is work in the lunchroom, Frankie? It's all right. Poor Frankie.
I will say that I love banana Laffy Taffy. It's my favorite flavor of Laffy Taffy. There you go.
I dislike bananas probably 363 days of the year. I don't know why. It's just occasionally you go, you know what, I need a banana. And I reckon it'll happen twice a year, and that's it.
Interesting.
I would
put
a banana in a smoothie or something. Like I make things with bananas a lot, but the idea of actually eating the banana, and I think it's a texture thing. It's just it's like Joe's saying, it's really hard to get a good banana, and there's such a fine window between it being not ripe enough and then overripe, and it's very hard. You could be staring at it and it'll go from not ripe enough to overripe just while you're looking.
It's true. There's a razor's edge there, which my little ones love bananas, and so we'll buy them, and then they'll be like, I don't want a banana today, and then like 2 days later, it's like, oh, these bananas are not good anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've always got the banana that you're like, oh, in a few days I'll make a banana bread with that, and then you realize it's been a week, and it's like, oh, I can't do anything with that. That's gotta go. It's no good. But you ever want to make a toddler upset? Give them their banana in the wrong way.
Oh, Jesus.
Peel it, chop it, don't chop it, accidentally break it. Yeah.
Oh, don't do that. An imperfect banana, that will not fly.
But the trick is they won't tell you how they want the banana delivered to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do they want you to peel it? Do they want to peel it themselves? You won't know until after you give it to them.
Yeah, that's so funny because I was just watching Miss Rachel like YouTube or Instagram video about that today, where it's like literally the lady hands her the banana. She's like, I didn't want it peeled. So it's really funny that you guys are talking about that. I just saw that today.
We lived that.
Yeah.
There's our child. Hang on, there's our child's input to the podcast. What do you want? Hey, what do you want?
I need a banana.
She loves bananas.
Oh.
And now we're talking about
yeah.
Must
have.
Jamie mentioned putting them in like a smoothie or something. That's good.
Yeah.
I'll do like a strawberry banana milkshake every now and then. That's also good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I hope Ruben that you got what you were hoping for out of this banana discussion. If anyone else would like to send us an email, like I say, anyone else. If anyone other than Ruben wants to send us no. If anyone wants to send us an email,
anybody wants to send us emails not about fruit,
I'm willing to answer fruit questions. It's okay. If anyone wants to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanch@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram and X and Facebook and Patreon, where I have not had time to finish my read of Defiant, and I don't know if I'm going to have time to even edit the ones that I've recorded so far. With my vacations, it's been kind of a crapshoot. So I'm sorry if those have been inconsistent with the episodes popping up on the Patreon, but I can do so much. Speaking of which, So we're going to be around, I think, or I say we. I'm going to be around for this record and the next record that we would do. So we will be recording 2 episodes before I am then gone for 2 weeks. The problem being that the second episode we record is going to be very close to the date when I leave, and I don't know whether or not I will have time to successfully edit it before I leave. So you will get 2 weeks of break. I just don't know whether it will be after this episode or after the next episode. So I'll try to post something on when I know one way or the other before I leave for Australia. I'll try to make a post on Twitter or Facebook or something so that everyone else will know. But yeah, right now I'm not sure when that break is going to fall. I'll just let everybody know. For the next one, whenever that one is, as I said, we're going to read 2 chapters, 42 and 43, if you are following along. Music by Miracle of Sound. Get that in there. Just sorry that February is going to be a weird month with unpredictable what have yous, whatever. But that's what happens when I try to take all of my vacation at the beginning of the year for whatever insane reason I decided to do that. So thanks everybody. Thanks patrons. Thanks people on the Discord. I had somebody email asking if the Discord was just for patrons or what. The Discord is open to everyone who wants to come and chat on the Discord. You can find a link on our website, which is www.thesanderlanch.com. So join us there, for better or ill. Get involved in the discussions. They can be crazy. Thank you to our patrons and to everyone who's out here listening. We appreciate you. 2 chapters for next time. And wuzzing to the time of next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Crabs ahoy!